a lot of people will say, well, hey, on Facebook, you have to have a friends list. You have to have a lot of friends. Well, the exception to that rule is in groups. You can go into an existing group. For example, here in McKinney, Texas, where I am, I live in a master plan community called Stonebridge Ranch, and there's like 70 neighborhoods within this community. Well, about 5 years ago, I saw that as a major opportunity to provide value. I'm not getting on there saying, hey, who wants to buy or sell a house? I'm talking about, the new restaurant coming in, or, just
very
anything.
Community oriented.
Yeah. So I saw that opportunity and I got really, really active in that group. And before you know it, I was kind of like a unofficial, leader or whatever, call it a talk show host, unofficial kind of host of that group, if you will. And then over time, the person who started the group ended up letting me take over the group. She said, hey, I like what you do in the group. So anyway, the lesson there is you don't have to be 43 and have 3,000 Facebook friends or whatever to be effective on Facebook.
Jared, we are here. I have been looking forward to this. I'm so excited. I absolutely love jumping onto these podcasts and getting to bring on rock stars like you. So thank you very much for making time for jumping on with me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Robert.
So I told you before, kind of the quick brief. I didn't give you a ton because I like it to be raw and authentic. And so we're going to just go right into the big question, why you're here, right? And I'm going to give you proper context. So here it is. If you were a new real estate agent, and let's say, it's fine if you're in a town or a new town. It doesn't really matter when you're a new real estate agent because you're new and you got to build from the ground up. What would you do to make 100K in 100 days? And I'm going to break this down for you to make it a little bit easier so it's not super open-ended, right? So let's first start with categories. What would you do to get some leads? Because we need leads.
Yeah, so I feel like I need to preface by saying that I would want to join a team. It's people go into real estate to make money. They go into, pretty much any sales profession to make money, and money follows experience. So my recommendation, if they don't have that experience, is to join a team, find someone busy, find someone successful, find ways to help them leverage the platforms, the database, the past client lists that they have. Because
this is good. This is good. I actually love that you said teams because this gives a perspective that I think oftentimes is overlooked. So let's talk about that for a second. So you said initial step is find a team, find an environment that will cultivate your growth efficiently and effectively. But, and I'm sure you can speak on this and we're going to get into it, all teams are not equal. And so as this new agent coming in who needs to make 100K in 100 days, right? Or at least really, really, really wants to, has the drive and ambition, what should they be looking for in this team? What are they actually looking for? Give some details that you would encourage them to kind of look at.
Yeah, so great question. In my opinion, I like teams and I like professionals that are building their own platforms. They're building their own places to attract business. What I mean by that is presence, in communities, farming, social media, running social media groups, things like that. I'm always looking for ways to cultivate things that I own instead of paying rent. In my opinion,
that's good. I like that.
In my opinion, there's a lot of people who are super quick to pay rent to Zillow or to maybe a brokerage that's expensive that they're not getting a lot of value out of.
Yeah.
And my challenge is, okay, how can you build something that you're going to actually own? And, to kind of tie that back to, let's say, the new agent who's trying to help an established agent, those established agents are already going to have spheres. They're already going to have, networks. So, a lot of new agents that I talk to, they'll ask me about social media. And, a lot of, I'm old, I'm 43. So my generation is on, Facebook and Instagram. And, a lot of younger, newer agents are not on Facebook, for example. But, I had an epiphany. I was actually out running this morning, and I was thinking about a conversation I had with a newer agent. And I thought a nice way to ask the question would be, if somebody offered you a, $100,000 salary to host a talk show where you were interviewing people who aren't necessarily in the same stage of life as you, would you find creative ways to talk to them and to build rapport and to build trust? Of course, anybody's going to say yes to that. Well, real estate offers the same opportunity if you're willing to look at it that way. If you're willing to look at it as, hey, I need to build connections with people and I need to find ways to talk to people about things that matter to them. So, I see Facebook as a huge opportunity there. And, a lot of people will say, well, hey, on Facebook, you have to have a friends list. You have to have a lot of friends. Well, the exception to that rule is in groups. You can go into an existing group.
Facebook groups.
For example, here in McKinney, Texas, where I am, sorry, I'm moving my chair here. I live in a master plan community called Stonebridge Ranch, and there's like 70 neighborhoods within this community. About 5 years ago, I saw that as a major opportunity to provide value. I'm not getting on there saying, hey, who wants to buy or sell a house? I'm talking about, the new restaurant coming in or, just
very
anything.
Community oriented.
Yeah. So I saw that opportunity and I got really, really active in that group. And before you know it, I was kind of like a unofficial, leader or whatever, call it a talk show host, unofficial kind of host of that group, if you will. And then over time, the person who started the group ended up letting me take over the group. She said, hey, I like what you do in the group. So anyway, the lesson there is you don't have to be 43 and have, 3,000 Facebook friends or whatever to be effective on Facebook. You can find groups that are already established and you can say, okay, how am I going to go in there and how am I going to start conversation? How am I going to provide value? How am I going to share things that actually matter to these people? Another mistake I think a lot of us make on social media is we only use the platforms that we like. And I've been guilty of this. Like I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of LinkedIn, just as an example. But you got to go where the people are. Where I live here, there are a lot of people who are on, believe it or not, on Nextdoor every single day. And I make a point to get active and I share local articles. Hey, it's only 70 degrees out this morning. I'm sharing that to Nextdoor. I'm sharing that to my group. And as a result, these things don't happen overnight. A big problem with a lot of us in sales, we want to do something that's going to make our phone ring tomorrow. And if it doesn't ring tomorrow, we might not do that action again.
Right.
This type of a social media effort is something that just requires faith. You have to say, hey, I trust that if I start being active day in and day out, that over time, there's going to be a lot of people out there who know who I am. They know what my dog looks like. They know a lot.
There's that level of trust so that as you stay in front of them, they don't just know you as a sales agent. They know you as a person that they trust.
Yep.
And then people will choose someone with basics, right?
Yeah.
Whoever they trust to get the job done. So let me go back real quick. So step one is find a team that's structured. So we'll get back. I love what you're saying about how you would go and get leads basically. But let me go back to that team thing, because I do hear this a lot. And not from people on the show, but agents saying, oh, should I join a team or not? How do they even find a team? What type of team would you tell them to look for? There might be 100, but they might not know who, what, where. Like, what would you? And again, it's just your perspective.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful question. And in retrospect, I've had this thought before that I wish that when I got into the business, that somebody sat me down and just kind of said, hey, a lot of different options out here. Here's the differences. Here's things you can look for. One thing that is real common with teams that I don't love is, again, paying rent to Zillow, for example. And
Very common. Yeah.
I'm not anti Zillow. In fact, I think that, we should all have a presence on Zillow, and, again, go where the people are. There's a lot of people on Zillow.
Exactly.
But I'm not going to, pay, $10,000 a month for cold leads. So, my thought is, interview different teams, interview different team leaders. And guys, in this business as well as other business, people treat you the way you treat yourself. So if you go to somebody who's successful and you're confident and you have bold questions, they're going to eat that up. They're going to love that.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
But the opposite's true as well. So you really have to say, okay, I'm worth this. I'm worth your time. Interview multiple people. Again, what I gravitate towards are people who can show you how to build a name, in the local community, versus, again, just buying leads somewhere.
It kind of seems like what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that go find a team that is building in their community, not just buying leads, because you won't know who's buying leads on Zillow. So those teams are going to be hard to find anyway. But if you're looking for who's making a presence, who's running an event, who's doing things in social media, who is building that local community brand, that's a way for you to come in, join that team, plug into their process, their systems. They're going to have partners probably already set up, some vendors they know how to run events, they know how to do if they're doing social media. And then from there, now kind of full circle back to what you were saying about how you'd get leads, you'd have a way to learn from them to start doing your own events and your own social medias, newsletters, next doors. You'd start to learn how to connect with your community.
Absolutely.
Was that a good kind of summary of what you're saying?
Yeah. And Zig Ziglar says, if you want to get what you want, help other people get what they want.
Love that,
my theory is that most established agents, there's always more we could be doing. There's always more we could be doing.
Yeah.
So, that's another question you could ask. Say, hey, what are you not doing? What's something that you wish you were doing and that you're not doing? Because I'd love to find ways as a new agent that I have more time, than you do. And maybe I could step in and help you accomplish some goals, that you haven't even thought of.
I'll give a shout out to Gary Ashton, #1 Remax team in the world, who is just next door to me in Nashville. Nice. Because I went and I looked at what he was doing and I'm like, he's extremely successful. And I said, I can't replicate what he's doing. I'm a brand new agent. So what I did, I literally said, what is he not doing?
Yeah.
What is he not doing? And that's what I'll do. Because I can't compete with a guy who has, if you see him, if you come to Nashville, man, billboards, you will know who Gary Ashton is, even if you're just flying into the airport. It's brilliant. He really invests in his brand. But and what's funny is earlier you were saying Facebook groups. And I was like, the one place that I didn't see Gary Ashton that often? Facebook groups. I'm headed straight towards those.
Yeah. And there's so much opportunity on social media. My wife is a travel agent, which I didn't even think before she got into it. I didn't even think travel agents were still a thing. But there's like a whole new wave. And she does videos on TikTok about travel and about different areas and this and that. She's getting business from that. That's totally a thing, here in the real estate world. And the thing you have to keep in mind as a new agent is, okay, there's two things you really have to do to be successful in the long run. One is know how to bring people in. And then two is to know how to actually, help them achieve what they want, actually, close the deal, and as a new agent, it's hard to do that second thing because you're new. So that's absolutely where, again, my recommendation is, join a team and say, hey, I'm going to leverage your experience, Sarah Smith or, whoever the established agent is. I'm going to leverage that. Let's do, a TikTok video together. Let me interview you on TikTok. Let's farm a neighborhood together. So every successful agent could be doing more. Everyone's limited by the number of hours in their day. So if I were a brand new agent and I didn't have that second piece, I would say, okay, how can I help you, Miss Successful Agent? How can I help get you in front of more people? How can
Yeah.
I help get more people in the door? And that's where,
I
again,
like that.
I lean towards organic, lead generation versus just buying leads somewhere. And,
I think too, we have, I think a study was released that 250 million leads were sold last year.
Getting water.
So we
Sorry.
don't have a lead problem.
Yeah.
We don't have a lead problem, everyone listening. We don't have a lead problem. 250 million leads were sold last year.
Yeah. Kind of depends on how you define a lead, though, right? Because, the difference between a warm client who you've been proactively building a name with over the years and, just getting your phone ringing, oh, I want to see this house on Zillow. It's 123 Main Street. Can you meet me there? It's just night and day. It's completely
absolutely
night and day. We have clients that already know they want to use us. Not saying they all do, but we have a good number of those, and you're not going to get that on a paid lead.
No, you're not. I mean, because there's no trust, there's no brand recognition, there's no relationship. And it's not to say that that's bad. It's to say, why wouldn't you want a warmer connection?
Yeah,
why wouldn't you
exactly.
want a deeper relationship? I do a ton on YouTube, and it was honestly the first time I got someone come in and said, hey, I'm ready to work with you. And I was like, I have never spoken to you.
There you go. That's
ever.
It. Yeah.
And I was and they were like so excited. And I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah. There's something, between the lines over time, everybody acts, right? Everybody's putting on a persona or whatever, but over time, people are good judges of character, and they can tell, who's just putting on a show and who's genuine. And that's where, one thing I'll tell people if I'm recommending they get active, on Facebook and stuff, I'll say, imagine a year from now, you're meeting with a listing lead, a listing client, and they're interviewing you and one other agent. But imagine that you right now started getting active on your social media. So a year from now, they actually feel like they know you really well. Really and let's imagine that other agent is dropping everything, to try and win their trust and get them to know, like, and trust and all that stuff. You've got a huge leg up if you're constantly putting, value out there, if you're constantly getting people's attention, but in a good way, in a healthy way. I've just started doing an email newsletter where I'm sharing like 3 tips a week. And I used to be the guy who unsubscribes from email newsletters. But, what I realized is, if half of your database doesn't, if half unsubscribes and half doesn't, and you're sending them 3 sincere tips a week, and basically what I'm doing is I'm keeping just a running log of like ideas I have through the week. I'm like, I should touch on this. So it's nothing, it's not rocket science. It's not complicated, but they're real tips and they're things that were actually valuable to me. And if you do, social media is a great way to do that. Email newsletters are another great way to do that. And then again, just the goal to stay in front of people, because we all have interactions with prospects, with clients, and there's a certain level of rapport that we build while we are working with them. And then afterwards, that just drops off. It just drops off.
So let me wind it back real quick on I love listening to you, and I'm like, hold on. I got to stick to the structure. So 100K in 100 days. And part of why we kind of do this is the goal is that someone will come in, a new agent, since we identified a new agent, but honestly, anybody's going to learn something from this. Even a senior agent's going to be able to pick up something. That's actually one of the things that I think is awesome about real estate and entrepreneurship is you never stop learning. There's always more, like you said. So day one, you've joined a team, awesome, box checked, and we're just assuming for the sake of the show that they're a good team and they're checking the boxes that a good team will check. Then you said you would get into kind of these Facebook groups as one of the strategies, aside from plugging into what the team's doing. So again, we're assuming the team's doing these community events. Maybe they're doing a newsletter. Okay, so you're the new agent. You're on this team. You're following their structure. Let's talk about what you would do with those Facebook groups. What type of groups are you going into?
Yeah. I want it to be people who are local. So if there's a group about, local neighborhood, or you can even start a group about something that you like. So if you're into pickleball or something like that, you can start a group. It is hard to start a group. It's hard to grow a group from nothing. So I would probably recommend to start by just getting active in established groups. And they're out there. There are groups out there that, everybody's joined, but there's nothing in there. So that's a wonderful opportunity for someone to step up and say, hey, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start, starting conversation in that group. And hopefully whoever owns the group is going to like that. They're going to be like, hey, Robert finds value in my group, and Robert's in there posting every day. So I would say, I know that's somewhat vague, but you want them to be local.
Right.
If you're in a neighborhood, the neighborhood groups are a slam dunk. But yeah, I mean, even outside of Facebook, TikTok is a wonderful opportunity. Go out and here's content to put in groups. Just go out and interview local business owners. It doesn't have to be formal. Just go in there and show off their thing and have 3 quick questions for them. Hey, here's all I'm going to ask you.
Very TikTok style, right? It's not crazy serious, big setup. It's literally just very organic. Hey, I'm walking in. I'm basically a patron here, and I'm just going to ask you a couple quick questions.
Yeah.
And then you walk out and you kind of share that story. And now the audience is like, this Jared guy, I like him. He's showing me the place. He knows where we live. Yeah. I just like him for some reason. You know what I mean? Like you start to build that trust. So yeah, I really like that. So it's going into these Facebook groups, could be local hobby groups. Like you said, pickleball, which had a great run, right? It just blew up. Pickleball, it could be tennis. It could be crafting,
anything. Yeah.
It could be specific to neighborhoods. So there's really a lot of variety. The point is that go where local people are going. Obviously, you don't want to go to national, right, pickleball, because the chances that you'll connect with someone that's local to you is so slim. So keep it local, but there's a good variety. So find things that you associate with, passionate about, and have something to share. Totally.
And my advice to take that a step further is, if you don't do it already, and this isn't for you, this is anybody listening, learn how to throw together a quick video. Tall portrait mode, we would call that a reel. But learn how to do that. CapCut is an amazing app that I use. And
I know CapCut.
Let's say that, again, you're trying to expose this new local coffee shop. Well, you can literally make like a 30-second video. You can throw music on there. You can throw some captions. And the beauty of video is that video is the one format that's universal to pretty much every social media platform. So if I make a quick video about the new coffee shop, that's going on my Facebook personal page. That's going on my Facebook business page. I'm going to share it from my personal page over to several groups. I'm going to put that on LinkedIn, and I'm going to say, hey, this guy is living the American. I'm going to put a business spin on it, because LinkedIn's all about business. Hey, this guy is an entrepreneur, small business. I'm going to put that spin. That can go on TikTok. That can go on Instagram. So, if you make one good short video and make it to where it doesn't have the watermark, because if you make it on TikTok and then you download it after you post it, it has that watermark. Yeah. But I think if you download it before you post it, it's getting hairy here, but there's no watermark. One other hack on Instagram is the collaboration feature. So if you go to an Epique, new park or brewery or whatever, and you upload that video to Instagram, and you invite that institution, if you will, let's say a brewery, their page, you invite them to be a collaborator on your video. Well, collaboration is better than a tag. If you tag them, it shows up that, hey, Robert was tagged in this. But if I do a video and I invite Robert to be a collaborator, it shows up as it's both of our posts. So it'll show up in your feed and it'll say,
I like that.
Jared and Robert posted such and such video. Well, guess what? If
Yeah.
you're a brand new agent and this brewery with, 20,000 followers accepts your invitation to collaborate, well, you're in front of their entire audience.
Yeah, it's a
Kind
big
of like,
boost. So how many videos like this would you do as this new agent on the team? You're working hard. And again, we're assuming you work full time. So, how many videos are you doing about this? What,
I don't
a
think it
week?
takes a lot. I don't think it takes a lot. Like I know of a guy in like Chicago that does home tours, which that's a great thing for a new agent to do. You want to get permission, right, from the agent. Hey, I
Yeah.
don't have a client. I want to do a showing just to make video. Is that okay? Can I film in your house? I'll give you credit. So anyway, you got to ask that permission. But I know a guy who gets a lot of business from doing one of those a week. He'll go tour a listing
One?
that's not even his. He'll do one a week.
Wow.
And
I'm thinking two a day, man.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. One a week and he's getting business. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
I mean, I think that you have to fool around a little bit and figure out what works.
Of
So you
course.
probably
You're a
wouldn't
new
blow up.
agent. You're going to gauge, you're going to
Yeah,
learn, big growing curve. And you might need to do more depending on your timeline, your need for money, and your audience, how they receive it. You may need to do more. It just depends.
yeah, exactly. So
So
video
what else would
is
you be doing with these? So these videos, we got that. We got the team and plugging into what they're doing. What else would you be doing in your first 100 days to make 100K? And again, when I want to clarify, because I didn't do this for you, normally I do. When I say 100K, it doesn't mean closed, because that's unrealistic and you can't control whether they're going to close in
yeah,
those 100
yeah,
days. It's 100K in the pipeline.
yeah,
And so for everyone listening, I normally give that clarification. I was just so excited to get started. I
yeah,
forgot
yeah.
to give that clarification. So yeah. So what else would you be doing during this 100 days?
Yeah, so I think another big part is your database. Every
Mm,
person that you meet, that you identify that, okay, this could be a business source, this could be a referral partner, put them in your database. They're a homeowner, put their address in there, make a note, hey, this is a homeowner. Because, when you start out, you're just shooting from the hip. You're just trying to find a low hanging fruit. But the further you get into it, the more valuable you realize that this database is. And again, I think the biggest hack, to make money, the money is the people who can generate leads, the people who can actually bring clients in.
yeah.
That's the biggest opportunity in our business. There's tons of people who, hey, if they have a client, they can do well with them. But the ability to make the phone ring, that is one of the
Right.
hardest things to
Opportunity
do.
creator.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you join a team and you go to your team lead and you say, hey, I want to find organic ways in the community to get people to consider listing their house with you, then you've got the best of both worlds. You've got that energy of the new agent, but you've also got that experience of the seasoned agent. So yeah, those are our hope those
So
are some
this is
helpful
good.
tips.
So, um, let's establish what a database is, because now if we're assuming our target audience right now listening, and again, if you're a senior agent, lots of stuff to pick up from here, but assuming that you're a new agent, I didn't know really. People said the word database when I started, had no clue what that actually meant. What the heck is a database? How would you describe that to a new agent coming into your office? What's a database, Jared?
Yeah, so basically, anybody that you come across that, let's not just say clients, let's just talk about networking. I subscribe to a service called HomeBot. You might be familiar with that.
Oh yeah, HomeBot's awesome.
I love it. If a neighbor says, hey, how's the real estate market? I might put them on HomeBot, because it's value. People love HomeBot. It has like an
Yeah.
85%. By the way, like most of the new tips that I've been using in my business lately all come from one book. So I'm going to do a shameless plug here that I don't get anything from except just sharing
Do it.
the awesomeness. So it's called 6 Weeks to Real Estate Success. So that's kind of right in line with what we're discussing here. It's like $10 for the digital copy on Amazon and $20 for a paperback. So the author's name is Dustin Fox. It's just tons of little actionable things. I'd heard of HomeBot before, but it was reading his book that I was like, okay, I have to start doing HomeBot.
He convinced you.
Yeah, I'm doing, because of this book, I'm doing an email newsletter. Again, I'm doing like 3 little things of value each Friday. I push it out. And, so to go back to your question, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
No, it's okay. So database, right?
Database, crucial. Everybody you meet that, you see any like networking potential. Okay, this is somebody that, they're all going in there. And if I have a business interaction with somebody, a conversation about business, I'm creating a task to where, I have a reminder, and I play it by ear as to when I schedule them for. But I might say, okay, I'm going to circle back with this guy tomorrow because it's a hot lead.
So I'm assuming you're putting these into a CRM. Is that correct then?
Absolutely.
And so everyone listening, a CRM, essentially it's just a place where you can put names, phone numbers, emails. You can do things called like campaigns. And there's levels of automation to help you. When he said tasks, so, in your CRM, you'd be able to say, oh, I've got Jared on here. I'm going to set a task for tomorrow to follow up with Jared about this. So when he's saying these things and you're saying task, where am I putting a task?
Yeah, just call it a reminder.
Yeah. And you can, and for those of you, I would argue, there probably isn't really a brokerage left that doesn't offer a CRM. There might be one obscure mom and pop that doesn't, but I mean, I know brokerages that charge the tiniest fees you could ever imagine, and they still provide a CRM.
Yeah.
So for those worried about it, guys, the chances of you not having a CRM at your brokerage or where you're going, if you're a new agent and you haven't picked yet, is so slim. They will probably have a CRM, and that CRM will probably be good enough for you to get started, because you don't even know what you need, want, or like in a CRM yet. So don't overthink it. Please don't go to all these Facebook groups where you go, what's the best CRM? Listen, you don't even know. Their advice is super out of context. Just get in there, do exactly what Jared's saying. Put everybody you meet, put some notes in there, put their information, put a task on when and what you're going to follow up with them about.
Yeah.
So I love that. I'm glad that you mentioned that too, because it's so powerful follow-up, and that's where you really make money. Like we talked about earlier, there was 250 million leads sold, but I bet you the vast majority of the ones of those leads that got closed were from agents who followed up.
Yeah.
Were from agents
who
built relationships.
And that's where there's a big differentiator with agents, is that the follow-up's not sexy. There's nothing fun about following up with people. Tedious. People want to do things that feel natural and that feel like a natural extension of their personal self. Well, to succeed in business, in my opinion, you have to have like, okay, this is what I would do in my personal life, but this is what I do as a business. And as a business person, it makes all the sense in the world I typically spend 30 minutes to an hour a day doing follow-up. Now, I'm not the guy who picks up the phone, hey, how are your grandkids and all that, because you can easily spend 1 hour on that one phone call. But I will send people, text, hey, did you guys, are you still considering North Texas? Hope you're doing great. Very light touches, as I call them. But on those tasks, or we call it a reminder to make it sound simple, I never actually mark it as completed. I just keep rolling it. So I may have a client touch, and then I might say, okay, I'm going to leave this guy alone for 3 months or 3 days or whatever. And I'll just roll that task to the next time. And that's if anyone's taking notes, that's a big takeaway there, is that, if everybody you meet that goes into your CRM has a task that keeps rolling. And again, that doesn't mean you have to call them every day. There may be somewhere you don't want to bother them again for,
absolutely
6 months. But
you kind of have to read the room. You have to gauge who you're talking to, and that is by the way, guys, I want to liberate you here for a minute. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to piss people off. You're going to have people who say stop and unsubscribe, and it's just going to happen. Even if you're the best at follow-up and you are so smooth and you are so good, right? I'm going to shout out to Ricky Caruth, who's great on cold calling. Guess what? He still gets rejected more then he gets accepted. And he is considered one of the best cold callers in our industry. So get ready. Don't be like, oh, I shouldn't follow up anymore because you're going to learn. You're going to learn what your follow-up is, how they respond to it. You'll get better. And then also I want to add in there for everybody, because they may not know this from what you said. Your newsletter is follow-up. For everybody listening, his newsletter that he's talking about, there's a lot of stigma around what is follow-up. Follow-up, right, is this intentional I always say lead with value, and I know you do too because you're talking about it, right? Helpful tips, useful information. So follow-up is where a new lead, a new contact is Jared and I don't know each other, and we've now talked for the first time. After Jared and I have established our initial relationship, everything I do after that is my follow-up with Jared. Okay, now I'm following up with Jared. And that can be a generalized way. Hey, Jared, here's a local newsletter and events. And then it can be direct, like you just said. Hey, Jared, are you still looking to move to this place? Are you still thinking about this? Or you learned about a job transfer? How did that job transfer go? Yeah. These little things. I just want everybody to know, like, follow-up is a broad thing. And there's a lot that can go in it, but a good golden rule, and then I want to hear your kind of golden rule or your thoughts on this, is lead with value. Just put yourself in their shoes and say, why would I want someone to talk to me? What's something that I could send that I would want Jared? Let's say Jared's the agent and I'm the client, right? And it's like, what do I want Jared to send me? What would Jared be able to send me that wouldn't piss me off and actually would make me happy? Thanks, Jared, for sending that. That's the goal. Thank you, Jared, for sending that. Yeah. So what's kind of your thoughts on how you gauge when you're thinking about your follow-up? How do I not piss people off and make them say, thanks, Jared?
Yeah, I think that, just not being too direct, if you're asking everybody, hey, do you still want to buy or sell a house? They're going to just see that as selfish. I'll send text to past clients and just say, hey, thought about you guys today. Hope you're doing great. Super open-ended. I don't knock on wood, but I haven't had, it's extremely rare that I'll ever have someone say, hey, take me off your list, because I'm not putting them on the spot.
If it doesn't feel like a list, they don't have a list to ask you to take them off.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is just not being afraid of rejection, like going back to the email newsletter thing. I don't want to see people unsubscribing. Guess what? People will. I don't know what the ratios are, but a good number of people will say, hey, I got too much going on. I don't need your tips on whatever. That's perfectly fine. Guess what? They're unsubscribing to an email address that I wouldn't have even been using anyway. So they're still not unsubscribed from my actual email address. They're just saying, hey, I don't want your extra layer of, and the thing you have to keep in mind too is like, okay, let's say that your sphere is three types of people. One, people that love you. One in the middle is not sure, and the other one hates you, right? Well, we don't want to send out an email newsletter because we don't want to hear about how that one group hates us or see how they unsubscribe. But the truth is that that group that already likes you, you're actually going to pull them even closer. Yeah. That group in the middle, you're going to have some people that, like it, some people that don't. But, 50% is way more than zero. So if you're not doing new tasks, you're going to get zero. So I'd way rather have 50% than zero.
And I love that you said you're going to pull them closer. I think that's a really powerful statement because it's like, guys, if someone doesn't like you in business, your job is not to make them like you. That's not how business works. Business says, what problems do my target audience have that I have the answer for? Okay. And those people, those are the people you're going after. If someone has a problem with you, you don't have the solution because you sell real estate. You're turning around and trying to help people with their real estate needs. And I know we can get deeper and we can say, well, there's a deeper thing, but at just a very superficial level, right? If someone doesn't like you, you're going to waste a lot of time trying to convince them when you could be serving people who are, like you said, unsure and could use a little convincing, could use a little evidence of relationship building, or you could be drawing in closer to the ones who do. And there's this theory. It's scientifically proven. It's done a lot. It works for real estate as well. It's called the 1,000 true fans theory. And it says that if you have 1,000 true fans, you can escalate and have a sustainable career. And one of my favorite examples of this, okay, and I promise, guys, this is going somewhere because I want you to really understand this, because this is what Jared's talking about is such a big problem, especially for new agents. It's so discouraging, but you're after the people who want you. So there's a big book series out there called Red Rising, and it became an astronomical sci-fi success. It's awesome, great, right? Do you know how it got there? They went and gave 50,000 books away for free, because they knew that only 10,000 of the 50,000 would actually read the books, and only 1,000 of the 10,000 who read it would actually be true fans that shared it with others. And now that series has sold millions and millions of copies, has a TV show in the works. If you have 1,000 true fans, guys, in your real estate business, you are not worried about the 50,000, 49,000 that don't care. It's okay.
I love it. Yeah. And when you talk about, insecurities and stuff, that's all the more reason to link, if you're new, link up with somebody who's established, because that takes away some of that fear that, hey, you're reaching out to an old friend or whatever. And hey, I've linked up with, so-and-so, and they are, the one of the top agents in the area. And anyway, and again, my pitch is never a hard sell. It's always like, hey, I'm here. And but that's a good reason, if you're new, to have somebody who you're confident to. And again,
it's almost like they'll filter through your thoughts to help you discover what's true or not, what's normal or not, what's to be expected or not. Because if you turn around and you don't know this, let's say you go to cold call, and you don't know the statistics of cold calling, which for everyone listening, it's 2%, okay? 2% on average in cold calling will positively respond to your phone call. 2%. But if you don't know those numbers, you will get into it, be rejected for so much, and your brain is going to tell you, because it doesn't know the truth. So it only knows the negative, and it believes that that's the truth. Your brain's going to tell you, you're not meant to do this. You're not good at this. You should quit, right? If you don't know these things, and like you said, but when you're with a good team, you know what they're going to say? Listen to Ricky Caruso sometime. Again, he's a good example of cold callers. He's going to be like, oh, that's it? You only got 10 rejections today? I got 50.
Yeah.
You're slacking. He knows. He understands. A good mentor is going to be like, hey, listen, right? Facebook groups. You're not going to win them all. You're going to every now and then get someone who says, leave me alone, or stop posting. People are just going to come in, but you need that help that will emotionally kind of be a foundation for you when you kind of feel kind of, what do you call it? Like shook by the reality of what it is to do what we do.
Yeah. I think it all comes down to mindset. It all comes down to whether you truly believe it's going to work. There's a guy, I grew up in a town called Denton, Texas here, and he actually is a landscaper, and he's like a local celebrity. He has all these old antique milk trucks. He like paints them orange, and he puts his logos on them. And he's always, at local events. And if you're like who's who in the town, he'll put your name on the side of his truck on the highway and wish you a happy birthday or whatever. Anyway, he was hyper local. He was hyper local in the 90s before anybody had coined the term. And, for me, when I decided to start getting really active in social media, I'm an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. I'm a natural introvert. But it was a business decision. I had that 100%. I 100% believed that, hey, if I start doing these actions day in and day out of just staying in front of people, not asking do you want to buy or sell a house, but just staying in front of people, finding things of value. We all come across interesting things every single day, but we're not sharing it. We're not sharing it. So it's having that on the mind that, okay, how am I going to share this with somebody else who might actually enjoy it? And if you truly have that belief that, hey, 5 years from now, I'm still going to be doing this. I'm going to put, I'm going to put information out there. I'm going to get in front of people, whether I get a lead from it or not. If you have that belief, you're going to succeed. But if you go into it thinking like, I'm going to test the waters, I'm going to put a little out there, let me see if my phone rings. Guess what, guys? It's not going to ring tomorrow. It's going to take a while to, amass that, I guess I don't want to use the word following, but, it's going to take a bit.
Presence, yeah. Okay. So this has been awesome, by the way. So again, I like to recap consistently because we cover lots of stuff. So again, day one, join a reputable team that's doing things to build a presence in their local community. And I would agree with you too, just to put that out there. I'm not saying you can't, guys, you can go buy leads. And there's a lot of great teams and great brokerages out there that do buy leads. But for the sake of what Jared and I are talking about, remember 100K in 100 days, and you're a new agent. You cannot go and compete with the Gary Ashtons of the world. They own Zillow, man. They own those zip codes. They spend, you think 10K is a lot a month? I know Gary Ashton's bill, and let me tell you, 10K, he'd be worried if he was only spending 10K a month, okay? He dominates. You do have something that you can do, though. You can go be you in a local community and make a local impression. And other than gas and time, it doesn't really cost you anything. So day one, go find that teams that's building that presence in their, or has that presence in your local community. Then plug into what they're doing. And then on top of that, go do the videos. At least one, start with one a week. Get your feet wet, like you said. Get used to just doing it consistently. And then next thing you know, because I learned this, by the way, for my own self, I was not always active on social media. It's all of a sudden you're doing 2 videos. And then all of a sudden you do 3. Now I do probably about 10 videos a week. Right. And old me, if you had asked me when I first started, I would be like, dude, 1 a week's too much. Yeah. That's just, my brain can't process it. So now you get these videos. We talked about follow-up as well and how to stay with that follow-up. Keep it organic, keep it relevant, not about sales, not about you, not about what you want from them, but rather what can I bring that's relevant to them? How can 100%. I serve them? Okay, so now let's start to, as we're drawing in 40 something minutes in, 45 or so minutes in, let's start to now kind of wrap up your 100 days. I think we've got a lot of consistent things doing. So do you think there's any pieces? And again, this is all high level, guys. Leave comments for Jared. I'll make sure that he gets them if you have them, and I'll make sure he gets them, and I'll send them to him and get you answers. But there's some other kind of pieces to this 100K in 100 days that you would bring to these new agents to keep in mind?
Nothing's coming to mind at the top of my head. Get with somebody who is a good mentor. Get somebody who cares. Trust is huge, guys. In business, you'll find people who are all about business, and then you'll find other people that are successful in business, but their morals are actually even more important to them than business. That's so interview multiple team leaders if you're going to go join a team.
Yes.
And then, just to circle back real quick on the video stuff, guys, just start. Get in front of people. There's something, there's so much body language, there's so much trust that comes through in video that does not come through anywhere else. Just start. I spent half a day on one video here a couple weeks ago and filmed this beautiful house with horses and everything. And it performed okay for me. It got like 40 reactions on TikTok. Well, guess what? I had another video that I didn't do any fancy editing on. Our favorite pizza place here is called Cavalli Pizzeria. And I literally just filmed opening the box and the steam that comes off. And I put a little caption on the top.
I'm getting hungry, bro.
Yeah. I said, this is our favorite pizza in the United States, which of course I haven't tried every pizza in the United States, but my wife's a big traveler and it's like a, actual Italian style pizza. That video is one of my best. It has 650 reactions on TikTok. Woo! And it literally took me 5 minutes. The pizza was still warm when I ate it. I didn't have to stop, So the moral of that is just start. I would argue that if someone had to pick between, okay, I'm going to watch a video that's an interesting idea, or I'm going to watch a video that is amazingly edited. Guess what, guys? People are looking for ideas. So editing is good. I don't want to take away from that, but I would argue that you can go further by just getting, fun ideas in front of people, and then, figure out that
just learn something too, right? This is what's so cool about what we do, is that had you speculated all day long about what to make, you would have wasted time, you would have wasted money, you would have put yourself in a position to not succeed. But because you just went and did the pizzeria one, what you learned is, hey, guess what? Your audience likes pizza. Maybe what they're saying is they like food. Maybe I should do some more food-related businesses, food-related hotspots. Let's do dessert next, breakfast next, lunch next, right? You're learning. And then what's good is that you didn't stop trying new stuff. You said, okay, now let me try really high quality edited video with a bunch of, right? And I've learned this too, by the way, your story, my story, I get it. And then it doesn't perform as well. And so then you go, okay, do I really need to? Do I really need to spend this much time editing or not? And it's a personal decision for your brand, right? And it is dependent upon what you're trying to convey with the video, but it's awesome because now you actually have something to work with. You have data to work with that gives you an idea of how you could be spending your time.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's powerful. That's powerful. I love a lot of the stuff you said because it really is, one, it's all free unless you're buying the pizza. But it's all free, and it really does build relationships. The other cool thing that we didn't mention that I just thought of as I'm listening to you through this whole thing is that this will help someone who, let's say that you're an introvert, let's say that you're shy, let's just say you're afraid of rejection, getting out and making a video, meeting shop owners, going into groups and talking to people. This will help you become social. This will help you become good at talking to people and
100%.
Building relationships and asking questions that make them feel like they're heard and valued by you. And that's a really great thing. That's a skill that only comes from doing.
People love it, man. Like I'll like interview like my cleaner. You know, I love my cleaner. She's like the most like just positive attitude, just one of my favorite people. And I'll put her on social media and people just eat it up. And she's like, oh, you're something. I'm like, it helps me too, because I'm getting my own face. I did an interview recently with a couple great local guys here who are movers. Same thing. They're like, oh, you're being so nice. And I'm like, no, when I get you in front of people, I'm also getting me in front of people. So it's good for our business. And, you know, you pointed out that one of the reasons that the pizza video did so well is that people like food. Well, in real estate, we're very fortunate that we're selling a product that real estate, people love real estate. We're, you know, one of the very few industries that there's cable TV shows all about just what we do for a living.
Yeah.
Guys, link into that. Go film property. Go find the most unique property. Again, get permission. Don't be the agent who shows up with the camera and that, you know, nobody else knows what's going on. Get
Please
permission.
Don't do that, guys.
But we're very fortunate that we're selling a product that people actually enjoy even in their downtime.
Yeah. And, you know, I love that you say that too, you know, because I think one thing that's easy, especially for a new agent who hasn't witnessed the power of real estate and what it can do for the average person, right? They don't know that yet. And I love that you just brought that up. We're not selling stuff that's subjectively valuable.
Right.
Or contextually valuable. More millionaires are made from real estate than any other industry. And more families create generational wealth through real estate than any other industry. We are doing something that is a necessity, a roof over their head. And when you do it right, it can be a catalyst that changes the financial trajectory of their life and for generations to come. We have an amazing honor to be in the industry that we are in, and we should be proud that we are real estate agents. We should be proud that we walk families through the process of buying and selling homes and making wise decisions with an incredibly valuable asset. And so, like, if you're a real estate agent, you're going to hear bad news, especially with the NAR stuff. You have to remember that there's a whole different game that those lawyers are playing. You are your business culture. You are the one who decides your motives of why you do what you do and why you serve who you serve. And so you need to stay true to that message and remember, like, we can make a wonderful impact. I mean, Jared, I know you have so many stories of just single moms who never thought they'd own, and first-time home buyers who have a kid and they're expanding, turning to an investor later on, and all of these things, these stories of freedom, of growth. We got to be a part of that. We got to help make that happen.
I'm hyped up, man. Let's
I know. I'm just like, let's go.
Let's go.
Well, listen, Jared, we're right at the end. This was amazing. I'm so grateful you made time. I think you brought up some really awesome things that agents can get out there and literally go do today. The videos, the Facebook groups, or other groups and communities. But building those relationships, I just can't thank you enough for the perspective that you brought and the time that you gave for the show.
I appreciate it. Guys, if anybody would like to connect, my handle on most platforms is just Jared Tye, JaredTye. So I'd love to connect on social.
Oh, here's a fun challenge. Everybody listening, here's what I want you to do. This is going to be awesome. Go find your favorite local pizza parlor and go film that video. You don't even have to put your face in it if you're really shy. Just start where you can start, showing the whole unboxing, literally, of the video and the pizza, the steam coming out. Post it on social media and tag Jared and I in it. And we'll comment. We'll show you some love and support. We'll cheer you on for doing something brave like that.
Yeah,
so
I would say put a bold caption. Put that it's like the best pizza in your state or something like that.
Yeah,
because people
pose a challenge that people are like, what? This is the best pizza. You want them to be like, what?
Yeah, that's very true. People get in there and debate. Love it.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, thank you again, Jared. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me, Robert.